Alright, welcome YouTube. Today is going to be kind of a reset on my YouTube account. I've gone through a few different setups trying to get something that would work to record video. That part wasn't so bad. I had gone through a couple of cheap video cameras until I finally broke down and bought myself a GoPro. Just the integration of all the different components really works well with GoPro. Their setup is smooth. Everybody knows if you're watching these videos, more than likely you've got your own GoPro and you're doing your own videos. And it took me a while to figure that out, but I finally did. So let me introduce myself. My name's Keith. I live just outside Tampa, Florida, about 30 minutes north. That's drive time. It's only like about 20 miles north of Tampa, but I live in a rural part of the state. Pasco County is where I live. Been here since 1992. I moved down here from upstate New York after graduating high school, and I've been here ever since. What I'm going to do today is this motorcycle that I'm riding right now is a 2014 Triumph Tiger Explorer 1200. If you're unfamiliar with the Tiger Explorers or Triumph motorcycles in general, the Triumph Tiger comes in different variations. You've got the 800cc and you've got the 1200cc. The 800 is pretty much the same bike, a few minor differences. It's chain driven. Obviously it's got a smaller engine. It's a little bit shorter, I believe, height wise. It's a fine bike. Most guys that go off-road prefer that. I think its equivalent would be something like the BMW F800 GS, I think is what it's called. But this bike is the Triumph Tiger Explorer 1200. It's got a 1215cc triple engine. It's got a shaft drive. My model comes with the cast aluminum wheels. They also come in some variations with spoke wheels. I bought the basic street version, meaning that it didn't come with any of the off-road packages. It didn't have the fog lights. It has a plastic bash plate down over the engine. It didn't have a radiator guard, headlight guard. It didn't have a lot of the things that you probably want to have when you go off-road. I'm mostly a road rider. However, I would like to try my hand a little bit at off-roading. I've done some. The problem with doing off-road riding around here in Florida is the sand. With a smaller bike, like maybe your KTMs, your KLRs, your Yamaha 250s, those are great. Those are light. They get through the sand, no problem. But this bike, coming in close to 600 pounds, being very top heavy, is not what I would call sand friendly. It'll do it, just not very well. And it's not much fun. But for regular off-road, hard pack, fire trails, the bike does a fine job. And that's what I've been riding on. What I want to do right now for you is, if you're thinking about a Triumph Explorer, or you're starting to look at adventure bikes or ADV bikes as people call them, you might have stumbled on the Triumph Tiger Explorer. I've got a first generation model. The newest ones, I believe in the US, are 2017 models, maybe it's 2016. They've updated the bike. Nothing that I would consider getting rid of my bike for, but they're nice. the features they added are very nice. It's got a electronic windscreen, whereas mine's manually operated. It's got electronic suspension. They tweaked the engine a little bit. Supposedly it's got a little bit more horsepower. But I gotta tell you, I don't know how much more horsepower you can need. I believe this bike comes in at 135 base horsepower. And I forget the torque. I want to say 85 foot-pounds of torque, maybe more, I can't remember. All I can tell you is this bike will scoot. For as big a bike as it is, as heavy as it is, it'll get along pretty dang good. I suppose what I could do is maybe start by telling you some of the things that I don't like about the bike, and those are few. Really, those are nitpicks, I guess. For one, the weight. It's a little bit heavier. I really don't know what they could have done to change that. I guess maybe they could have made the tank out of something different. I really don't know. I mean, it's once you're going. Like right now, you don't feel any weight. This bike flicks around pretty good. It's not top heavy when you're moving. It is top heavy when you're trying to do slow maneuvers or when you're walking around on foot. But on the road, no problem. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's windy today. And this bike doesn't really get blown around too much. There's a little bit of it. Mostly I'm hearing it. I'm hearing the wind. It's pretty strong, but the bike is stable. It's got remarkably good aerodynamics, I think. Now, today, before I left the house, I did change the position of the windshield. I tilted it back towards me a little bit. I had it more standing upright because it got cold a while back, last week. It got down into the high 40s. For Florida, that's pretty dang cold. Anything below 60 degrees Fahrenheit, if you're a Floridian, you don't take too well to it. But anyhow, I stood that windshield up as straight as it would go and raised it up as high as it would go, and that did a pretty good job of blocking out the wind, but it's also difficult to see through. My height, I come in right at about 5'9". My height puts me looking right through the bottom edge of that windshield. In fact, the line of the top edge of the windshield kind of cuts right through my vision, which is annoying. So what I did today is I dropped it back down and I tilted it back towards me. I see over it clearly. The downside is you're probably getting it in the camera. But anyhow, back to my dislikes about the bike. The weight will be number one. It's a heavy bike. But I knew that going in, so it's not the bike's fault. Number two, again, nitpicky. But one of the features of this bike is that it has electronic cruise control. It's ride-by-wire, meaning there's no cable over here for the throttle. And if you look right here, it's got electronic cruise. Now, most of the time, if I keep my hand in towards the edge, the inside edge of the grips, I can reach up there and just hit that button. Those are no problem. But if my hands happen to be out towards the bar ends, now I got a stretch. So I typically find myself riding with my hands close to the inside anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. But they did modify the layout and the look of that. I guess really what they did is they changed the size of the buttons. Not so much the layout and the look, but they did change the size of the buttons. And I guess what it is now, these buttons extend over here more so you can reach them easier. So if you did happen to have your hands out by the bar ends, activating your cruise would not be an issue. But I don't have that, so it's an issue. The other thing, and probably this is my biggest gripe, is when you put the bike on the side stand, it leans over pretty good, pretty far. I've actually got one of those kickstand footprint enlargers, you know, so you don't sink down in the sand and the bike falls over on you, which, by the way, works excellent. I've parked this bike anywhere without much thought of what I'm parking on since I put it on last year for Christmas. I got it, and the bike's never fallen over. In fact, knock on wood, this bike's never fallen over, period. I've never dropped it, it's never tipped over, it's never been bumped over, I've never crashed it. It's always been on two wheels. The weight would probably be another concern if I were to drop it, but anyhow, the kickstand, I don't know what else there is to do. I thought maybe my kickstand had some slop in it. Maybe something was wrong with the alignment of it, and maybe it got bent. I couldn't figure it out, but apparently it's not. It's fine. It just, the bike leans over, which just means that it's hard to get up off the side stand. Nothing you can't do. It's just nothing to look forward to doing, I suppose. I tell you what, though, this bike sure is a joy to ride. Okay, dislikes, I don't think I've really got any more. No, I don't have any worth mentioning anyhow. What do I like about the bike? Well, this video would be 2 days long if I went through that list. I like everything else about the bike. It's easy to maneuver when moving. It's plenty powerful, it's plenty fast, it's way more than enough to get yourself into trouble or hurt. It sits up high. I really like that. I like when I roll up to a stoplight and I happen to be parked next to a pickup truck, let's say a standard size pickup truck. I'm looking in the window of that person. Like eye level to eye level. I like that. I like that when I'm riding it, I can stand up on it. No problem. The bike is very easy to stand up on, very easy to balance. After I made some changes to it to suit me better, and I'll get over on to that topic in a minute, but the bike is great. You take it off-road. Now around here, I'm driving through a wildlife management area with the Coochie River, I believe it is. Around here are some nice places to go off-road because you see there's still grass. Most of the grass has not been eroded away to where you're looking at sugar sand. But when you're riding off-road, it's very helpful if you can stand up on a bike, and this bike allows you to do that with no problem whatsoever. What else? The gas tank, the size of the gas tank. A lot of the guys, when they complain about the gas tank, they complain about it's not big enough. It only lets me go 200 miles. Well, that's not an issue for me, but I understand why it is for some of them. They live out in places out west, Arizona, Nevada, Utah. Maybe they want to go off-road, go 100 miles out. Well, the problem is there might not be gas stations 100 miles out, so they got to make sure they can get back. The gas tank for them might not be good enough. But for me, doing mostly road riding, 5.3 gallons I think is what the tank is. I get a range of about 220 miles. I find that to be very fulfilling. And of course, how you manipulate the throttle will increase or decrease your gas mileage usage. There's a bike trail up here. Actually, this bike trail starts back down near where I live. It's Rails to Trails, I believe. That's what it's called. It used to be a railroad track that was abandoned, so it was torn up. They paved it and made it a bike path. It's actually quite nice. It goes from Pasco County, US 301, and I believe it goes up to Citrus County, maybe? Anyway, I think it's about 40 miles or so this bike path will go. And through a lot of this beautiful woods and whatnot. So anyway, back to the likes. I like the cruise control. Never had a bike that had it. I never had a bike that was fuel injected until this bike. I like the shaft drive. My last bike was a shaft drive. There's virtually no maintenance on the shaft drive bike. Change the oil. This bike has traction control. You can turn it off, and it's got two different settings. Traction control 1 and 2, I believe. I never touch it. Well, that's not true. Sometimes when I go off-road with it, I take it and turn it off. But on the road, I just leave it in a default setting, which, by the way, when you turn the key on, put the bike in neutral, that's when you can change the settings. But when you turn that key back off, the settings reset to defaults. So I don't mind it. It doesn't, I don't think it decreases the power at all of the engine. What the traction control does, from my understanding, is that when either one of the wheels, I think it's the ABS system that triggers it, whenever either one of the sensors senses that traction is reduced to one of the wheels, it cuts power to the engine. This is most noticeable if you pop a wheelie. With the traction control on and you pop a wheelie with this bike, or even so much as lift the front end up a couple of inches, the sensors catch that, cut the power of the engine, and there's an abrupt drop of the front end back to the ground. But I'm not what you would call a daredevil, so I don't much care for doing wheelies anyway. And with a bike this size, I know it can be done. My friend's ridden this bike and he has wheelied it. I don't care to be doing it. My luck, the way that I seem to do things, I'd try a wheelie with this and I'd be straight up in the air and back over on my keister with a bike laying on top of me. So I'll stay away from that. And it's got ABS. Also, you can turn it off, which I do that when I go off-road with it. In the sand, the wheel not locking up, I guess, is a problem, but shoot, who am I kidding? I go so dang slow off-road anyhow that I could probably leave everything turned on and have the same experience. But let me see if I can't find a spot here, get pulled over, and do a little walk around on the bike for you. Show you some of the things that I've changed, some of the things that I like. Here looks like a good spot. back here in the shade. There's a Fish and Wildlife officer. Hopefully I don't look too suspicious over here, but I doubt it. Okay. And the bike. Here she is. We can start at the front, and I'll tell you some of the things that I've changed. The first is those tires. I've got 17,000 miles on the bike right now, and that is my third set of tires, counting the original ones, the Metzeler Torrance tires. When I replaced those at about 6,700 miles, I was not too happy. I thought that they should have lasted longer, but in retrospect, they were fine. They wore down as they probably should have. There's a lot of straight roads in Florida, so they wore down in the middle. I've got a video up asking people's thoughts on those. But I went from the Metzeler Torrances to Pirelli Scorpion Trail 2s, I think is what they're called. The trail designation on those tires really was just that they will support a bike of my weight. There's different variations of them for smaller bikes, larger bikes, but for this bike they were trails. They were by no means off-road tires, although I did take them off-road a little bit up in North Carolina, mostly gravel stuff, and they handled that fine. But these current tires are Mitas EO7s, and so far these are the favorite tires that I've had on here. I really like them. They're wearing down good. They got about 2,800 miles, I think, right now, and the tread is still looking very good on them. They're wearing nice and evenly. They're not going bald in the middle. They're looking good. So the tires are the first things I've changed. You can't see it right now, but inside there are LED bulbs in the headlight bucket. They're Cyclops. I did another video about those. You can find that on my channel. I love those. Great lights, great lights. These are rigid LEDs. The orange covers on there come off, so they're sold by Rigid. Different colors you can get. I went with the orange. I think it helps increase visibility, especially during the daytime. So they snap on. And those Rigid lights, very nice. I got the cheaper set. They have a upgraded set that's got, I think, 6 LED lights in there versus the 4 that are in each of mine. You probably can't really see it right here, but there's a bracket that the windshield bolts to. It's made by a guy whose name is Batzen, B-A-T-Z-E-N. You can find him on the Triumph Tiger Explorer forum. I think he's out of Germany, if I'm not mistaken. He makes those brackets. Also makes a GPS bracket that goes with the windshield bracket. And now I think he's making a cover that goes down here too. But I bought this second hand off a guy on the forum. I had the GPS bracket mounted on here. I still got it, but I took it off because it wobbled. You could tell when you were riding that it just moved up and down a little bit. I didn't like it. So I ordered one of the Triumph brackets, and that's rock solid. So I have Barkbuster Storm handguards on here with the Barkbuster full rib, full frame handguards. Excellent for wind protection. Do a very good job of stopping things from hitting your hands when you're going off-road. Quite pleased with them. I've also got on there the SW Motec upper crash bars and the Triumph OEM lower crash bars. Again, the model that I bought didn't come with any protection, so that was added. Both of those were added. I haven't yet changed this bash plate. I'm going to eventually.
put the SW Motec one on there. The reason that I'm going with SW Motec for some of this stuff is the quality of that is just incredible. That company puts out some good stuff in the bash plate. The factory one uses some mounts in the engine casing, which from what I've read, from what I've heard, if you go off-roading, maybe hit a big rock, that bash plate takes the brunt of it, can also cause some problem to the mounting holes. So the SW Motec incorporates some of their own unique mounting positions which are independent from the engine, meaning it's going to be a little bit safer for the bike. So I'm going to be going with that when I do upload a video up of that installation. You can see back in there, that plate with all the holes looks like a beehive. That's the radiator protector. That's the Triumph model. Bought that secondhand off the same guy that sold me the windshield bracket and the bark busters. Very happy with it. Does just what it's supposed to do. The bag up here is a SW Motec day pack. Very nice bag. Comes on and off. Simple with a gas tank mount. That's it. This little plate right here mounts it to the gas tank. You set it on there. Push it on, you're done. This is a Russell Daylong saddle. That is the single best. Oh, that reminds me. That's the single best investment that I've made on this bike. And I got that one used off eBay. Excellent condition. I've put maybe 8,000 miles on it. The stock seat sucks. Add that to my list of things that are terrible about the bike. For me, anyway, was the stock seat. So, but that Russell Daylong, can't recommend that enough. I also swapped out the factory exhaust can for our Yoshimura RS4. Yoshi. People call them different things, but very happy with that. I took the baffle out. Sounds really good. Luggage. I've got the factory Triumph luggage. I'm happy with it. I don't use it much. Eventually I'll upgrade. Probably again go with the SW Motec luggage, but I'm happy with this. I like that when I take it off, there's very little residue left over, showing that it has luggage, which is this bracket and this floating pin here that the cases rest on. That's about it. Oh, well, I do have GPS mounted on there. It's hardwired into the bike. I don't have it installed right now, obviously, but it just, the cover here pops off. GPS mounts right there. Turn on the bike, it powers up. Turn off the bike, it powers off. And this mount for my camera. Now, these foam covers here are grip puppies. I didn't like the feel of the stock grips. They were a little sticky for my feelings, but these grip puppies work good. What else? I think that's about all the things that I've done to it. Yeah, that's it. But the bike works great. The bike does exactly what it's supposed to do. It does everything that I want it to do. It does everything that I want it to do very well. So I have no complaints with it. Now when I start it up, for the sake of the video, I'm going to put it in neutral just so I can sit here and talk for a minute. To start the bike, you have to pull the clutch and press the starter. That's it. Bike works great. Beautiful. Now, the dash. Let's go over the dash a little bit. You got clock. You got a gear indicator, miles per hour. Right now I've got it set on the temperature, but a quick push of this I button, info button, you press that, and it cycles through the groups. I'm in neutral right now, so it goes to the setup. We'll skip that. I've got 17,094 miles on the bike. It had 4 miles on it when I test rode it, 15 when I was done, and I brought it home. So I've put all those miles on there since August of 2015. Now, when you're in trip 1, this rocker button, the info rocker button, you cycle through that. I've got 134.5 miles on this tank of gas. I've got 71 miles to go until it's empty. It's been 3 hours and 13 minutes since I reset the counters. That's running time. I'm getting 37 miles to a gallon overall. That's the average. The instant right now, because we're sitting still, is not reading anything. I've averaged 41.6 miles an hour. And then you go here to reset it. Then you press the info button again. It goes into trip 2. And it's the same exact settings as the last. I reset that when I put the tires on. So the tires have actually got 2,809.5 miles on them. And you get the same numbers here. It's been 65 hours since I put the tires on. I'm probably going to think that resets at 99.99. That's it. Then you go to the temperature. Your other features are pretty standard. Turn signals, high and low beam, horn. Turn signals are self-canceling. Love that. Over here you've got the cruise set. Power on and off for the cruise starter button and emergency kill switch. Oh, rocks risers. I did put those on the bike. That brings the bars up, and I was able to bring them back a little bit. So from my riding position, that works out really nice. That allows me to stand up. The bars are tilted ahead ever so slightly. So when I'm standing up, I can still actuate the brake and the clutch with no issue. It's got hydraulic clutch. And obviously hydraulic brakes. I don't think anything doesn't have hydraulic brakes on the front now. But, okay, that's it. Oh, I didn't tell you. I have a headlight protector plate. Just a clear plastic headlight protector. I took it off. I don't ride it on most of the time. But it does the job it's supposed to do. So, that's that. Alright, so I guess that's maybe all I'm going to say for this video. I think I've probably gone on longer than I should have. You got any questions below? If you got any questions, comment below. And you can like and subscribe. I'm going to try to iron out some of the kinks with making videos, make them a little bit more smoother, streamline them, get rid of a lot of the ums and ahs and pauses. You know, all the things that make a good video crap. So, stay tuned. Bear with me, and maybe we can put some good stuff out for people to watch. I've actually never gone up this road this far before. It's nicer than I expected it to be. Okay, that's it. You all ride safe and ride often. Thanks.